Thanks, Hillary. All right, for more on this, let's bring in Congressman Jeff Van Drew, who was in today's hearing. Congressman, good to see you. Hur relies on this idea that Joe Biden is well-meaning. He's an elderly man with a poor memory. But we have all the elements of the crime met. Robert Hur found all the elements, and he decided that I can't win at a jury. My frustration with that is prosecutors don't make that decision. Juries do. He should have charged Joe Biden and let a jury decide whether he was guilty or innocent.
Well, he is old and forgetful. There's no question about that. But the takeaways here, and let's just really follow the trail. The takeaways are that he had these documents stored at 5 different locations, that one of the locations in Delaware, they were in a broken down box next to a collapsed dog kennel and some old pails and other paraphernalia. The truth is not only that, but that he was writing a book with a ghostwriter, and that he wanted to enhance his reputation to the world and to the country. So he did have a good enough memory to know that he had those documents, to know that they were going to use them, that he was going to get $8 million for doing this book deal, and that he was going to move forward with it. Bottom line also is there is a difference here between being a president and a vice president. A vice president cannot declassify those documents. These were top secret documents. They cannot be declassified by a vice president, only a president. So it's a far worse crime. They weren't declassified. They were used, in my opinion, for personal gain, to get this book deal and to make it more exciting. And yes, he does have a bad memory, and he doesn't know what he's doing sometimes, but quite frankly, he knew how to follow the buck.
And let's not forget the documents that Joe Biden had from the time he was in the Senate. And as a senator, he would have had to have removed those documents from a SCIF, and he himself would have had to have carried them out. So let's talk about not only the willful retention of classified documents, but the willful knowledge that he was breaking the law. And Robert Hur today goes into an explanation for why a jury, that Joe Biden had the evidence in all of these different places here and there. And Andy McCarthy pointed out that a jury would be instructed by a judge that you have to look at the evidence in totality, not in isolation. And it seemed like he was bending over backwards to explain why he did not bring charges and prosecute this old man. And the only conclusion I could come up with is he didn't want to bring charges against a Biden, and he didn't want to hurt his own reputation. So the best thing he could come up with was, well, he's old, because everybody knows that's true.
And here's the deal. It's a 2-tier justice system. We've been talking about it with the plea deal for Hunter Biden, and now we're talking about it with this deal for Joe Biden. He's forgetful. He's in cognitive disrepair, so he's not responsible for anything he does. He knew how to collect the money. He knew how to do the book deal. He knew that he had the documents because he actually mentioned them on a recording with the ghostwriter that was involved. It's a 2-tier system. Justice for thee, not for me. We've seen it before, we're seeing it again, and in any court of law, I've never heard of a defense that would be, well, he's forgetful, so he can do all this. It doesn't matter. It does matter. It matters a lot. And he had plagiarism issues, as we all know, when he was in college, and he's got the same kind of issues here. A vice president or a senator does not have the ability to declassify documents. President Trump did. He was a president of the United States. That is the difference. It is the legal difference, and it is the substantive difference.
What we've seen is Joe Biden is a vengeful, angry old man, not affable. Congressman Jeff Van Drew, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your insight and all your good work. Thank you.